we're going on to our second bonus live training. So if you are listening to this as a recording, we are live on Instagram as well as in the Facebook group. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, this is just a recording. So if you hear us, answering questions or comments or anything like that, that is what is going on. So today we are going over what values and beliefs are and how those relate to your goals and why it's so important to actually know what your values and beliefs are when creating your goals, because everybody has different values and beliefs, and it makes a huge difference when you're deciding what you want for your goals and how to achieve them. And yeah, so this is just a bonus training. We have the actual boot camp starting on Monday, the 14th. So that's when we'll get into the real deal, get a lot deeper into stuff, have the worksheets, have the prizes, have some coaching involved, all of those things. So if you haven't yet, make sure you click the link in our bios, in the Facebook group, or in the description of the podcast and get yourself in there. It's a free boot camp, so don't worry about that. Once you get in, there's a welcome video, there's $750 worth of prizes you can win. Even just by participating, you get $150 worth of course content. Like, there's a lot of good stuff in there. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So without further ado, let's get into today's training. Ariya, did you want to start us off just kind of going through what exactly are values?
Yeah, I can definitely get us going. Okay, so we're going to talk about like two main things today. That's values, beliefs, and we're going to touch a little bit on goals.
Okay.
Basically, what values are is like who you are at your essence. Like, this includes like what really matters to you, and this really guides your behavior. So if you have a value that family really matters to you, you're going to take more action that is aligned with that value a lot easier. So if you're really prioritizing spending time with family and friends, and that's a value of yours, those things just click right in and they're good to go.
Mm-hmm. And I think it also works the opposite way too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if you are, for instance, working towards a goal that isn't necessarily family related, and you find yourself having to take time away from family more so than you normally would, it's going to be very difficult to reach that goal because you're going like, they're kind of going against your values. Like your values are kind of fighting against each other. So basically, when you're going into designing your goals, you want to make sure that it goes alongside with your values instead of fighting against them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like some examples of like values, like one is family, another one might be like money or like finances or your health and fitness, or like there's a whole bunch of different, like your career, like you might be really career driven and that might be a value of yours. So there's quite a lot of different values that like can really guide you, and it's really easy to know when you're not acting in alignment with your values, because you kind of feel a little bit icky, right? Like you're like, oh, this doesn't quite feel right. Like, I know I should be going on the gym, but I'm sitting on the couch right now. Like, is my behavior really in alignment with that value of health? Probably not. And that's probably why you're not feeling so great about yourself at that moment in time, right? So if you're getting that icky feeling, it might be because what you're doing right now isn't in alignment with those values.
Right. So you basically just feel like you're not being true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
so
100%.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely gone through that in my life before, for sure. And just like coming back to, for instance, like coming back to moving back to Kelowna with my family, and just kind of, I don't know, feeling like I was back in my natural habitat for some reason. And then I just started to feel like myself again. I think for me, one of the big things was family. That's a big value to me. And when I was living away from home for so long, I wasn't very good at keeping in touch with my family. And then coming back home and realizing like, oh, wow, that's why I just wasn't feeling so good for so long, is because I was such an important thing to me that I was basically just neglecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's like, we'll talk about more in the boot camp, but like realistically, you're only like, the magic number is between like 3 and 5 values, right? But sometimes that seems like a lot. So like really honing in on like what is the truest to yourself, like what really matters to you, like what kind of legacy you're going to leave behind, like really ask yourself those kind of questions. Like I would say one of my core values is like freedom and flexibility. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really just want like a life where I can like not really have a schedule. I know that sounds silly, kind of silly, but like that's
No, not at
really
all.
guides me to take action now, is because of what I really truly matters to me is having that freedom in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to camp for 2 weeks straight out in the wilderness. Do you know what I mean? So you have to take the action now that's gonna like keep you in alignment with those values, right?
Okay, so your values are very closely aligned with your why then.
Absolutely. And that's why it's really good to see if your values, your beliefs, and your why are they all on the same page, or are they kind of a mismatch? Because if they're a mismatch, that's probably why you're experiencing a little bit of resistance towards them, right?
Mm. Okay, so I find like that's similar to if you have a goal of losing a certain amount of weight and you
Mm-hmm.
say you're going on a diet for like your why is to lose weight and to
Mm-hmm.
wear a smaller pair of jeans.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not actually your
No,
why, and that's not
no,
actually your value.
no,
Your
not at
value is
all.
probably something different, like your health or your longevity
Mm-hmm.
or like setting a good example for your children or
Mm-hmm.
something
Yeah,
like that, right?
exactly. That kind of comes back to that legacy piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? What kind of example are you going to be? Like, who is that person, right? That you
Okay.
really envision yourself to be. But yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
So then if you're not,
mm-hmm.
like if you're saying that you're just losing weight so you can fit into a smaller pair of jeans so that you like
Mm-hmm.
you just feel better or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not really getting deep on what that actually means to you, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to stick with that. You're
100%.
not going to stick with a new diet plan or an exercise plan for the sole purpose of fitting into a smaller pair of jeans. Like that
Mm-hmm.
is not a good enough reason or driving force behind it.
Yeah, but you can definitely use that to start. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you work
I
backwards from there.
Exactly. So if that's your starting point, like you just want to lose weight, ask yourself again, why do I want to lose weight? Because I want to feel more comfortable in my body. Well, why do I want to feel more comfortable in my body? Well, because there's things that I want to go to experience, and I want to wear different clothing and all. Do you know what I mean? Like you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you have a surface level value or why, like it's pretty easy to keep going, right? But
Yeah.
people usually stop
Mm-hmm.
and let that why or that value guide them, and that's not motivating, right?
Yeah. Or they
So
keep focusing back on that one instead
yeah,
of being like, okay, no, but what, but actually why?
yeah, like for me, my why was I just wanted to feel comfortable in my body, and that like this very physical sensation of not having to be so conscious of my body on a day-to-day basis, how my clothing was fitting on my body, not switching outfits like a dozen times before I go out the door because I'm so self-conscious. Like my why was just that, like just that level of comfortability. And that's when I saw massive results, because it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that I wanted to lose weight anymore. It was because I just wanted this like relief, like this in my body. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was a lot more motivating for me.
Yeah. And then you can actually start building a plan to
Mm-hmm.
reach your goal around that with the intention of working towards feeling like that during the journey. So
Mm-hmm.
picking actions to work towards your goal that align with those values instead
Mm-hmm.
of, again, doing things that go against it. Like if you really value your health, you probably shouldn't be eating so few calories that your health starts to deteriorate, right? That you start to lose your period, that you start to just feel fatigued during the day. Because if at the end you want to be like living in a healthier body and you're going about it in an unhealthy way, those are going to conflict. And then you're not actually going to feel the way you want to feel
Mm-hmm.
because you're going against
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then that's kind of values
Values.
and why are kind of very
Yeah.
closely intertwined. And
Mm-hmm.
then what about beliefs? How do beliefs play into this?
Well, basically, like the most simplest way that you can think of beliefs is what beliefs really guide your behaviors or your thoughts So like that's a very simplistic way to view what your beliefs are. And there's kind of two main beliefs. There's a personal belief and there's a universal belief. And those kind of, you can compare those against the actual truth, right? So for instance, I might have a personal belief that I can't eat carbs after 7 o'clock. That's a personal belief. That's a personal truth that I tell myself. Okay. And if I have a value of health and fitness, okay, and let's say I just banged out like a good workout at, I don't know, 6 o'clock because I wanted to make sure I could still make it to the gym, and now I'm home and now I can't have dinner because that it doesn't align anymore, right? I know that kind of seems like an over, but just to kind of show you, right, like your beliefs really need to align with your values in order for you to take action. Like you probably had some personal beliefs that have really blocked you from going further, right?
Yeah, they're very unconscious a lot of the times, that we don't necessarily realize we've been believing these things. And a lot of times it happens even when you do know what the right thing to believe is, right? Like I even have this around nutrition sometimes too. Like, even though I know that I don't need to like cut my calories way down low in order to lose weight if I ever do want to, sometimes I find myself getting into the mindset of like, oh, I just want it to be done and over with fast, and I'll just do this for a while and it'll be fine. And then again, like, even if you do know what it should be and the right way to do things, sometimes the old beliefs still start coming back, and you just need to be aware of that and like take the time to acknowledge it and be like, yo, is this actually what I want to be believing? And question it. Like, is this actually what the truth is? Is this actually something that's going to be benefiting me?
Like, yeah, constantly challenging like your personal beliefs or personal truths. Like, we can kind of mention this yesterday. Like, I had seen this quote or whatever, and said, if the thing is not 100% true for 100% of the people for 100% of the time, is it really the truth? Right? So like I'll take a different example. Like, it's hard to make money, right? Now think about it. Is that really true for 100% of the people for 100% of the time? No, absolutely not. So that should actually be quite empowering for you, right? Well, you can apply that to any belief that you have about any of your abilities or anything like that, right? Really challenge them. And it's really hard when you have like a universal belief come in, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to challenge these personal beliefs of yours, and then you have a universal belief that's being fed to you via whatever, and you're really having to do that, like, I don't know.
So universal beliefs are basically like things that you've just heard for a long time.
Yes.
So like a lot of diet myths and fitness myths, like women shouldn't work out because they'll get too bulky, or things like this. Like, it's not necessarily your own personal beliefs. So I believe that like personal beliefs come from personal experience. So your past is evidence for you to believe that, right? So, if you have always failed on your diets in your past, that is your evidence that you are going to continue to fail on your diets, right? Whereas universal beliefs are going to be something that you've just heard, and you don't believe in it, not necessarily from personal experience, but from, what you've just heard for so long. And I think they both take a different level of, breaking down and really like acknowledging and being like, how can I change this for myself? But yeah, I think something to keep in mind with beliefs is, I think we can go into a teensy bit of like neural stuff here. So basically, like, you have a bunch of neural pathways in your brain, right? Your neurons are connecting and firing, and that's how you create thought patterns. So to simplify it, the more a thought pattern is repeated, the more permanent it's going to be in your brain. So if you're trying to break an old thought pattern and create a new one, it's just going to require a lot of practice in order to make that happen. You can practice by thinking the thoughts, or by actually doing actions that will provide you with proof, with evidence for that new thought, right? And then also to keep in mind that that pathway is still going to be there and it's going to be very easy to fall back. So you just want to make sure you're always on top of yourself, and, you can always start again, right? Like I've started again with my fitness journey and my nutrition journey so many times, but I am so much further ahead than when I started because I have continued to keep trying and to keep going. I'm not perfect by any means, but because I've never given up and I have never stopped and I have never quit, I am way better off than if I would have quit after like that first hurdle and never tried again, right?
Yeah. I definitely want to touch on one belief that I think that circulates a lot, and that's like grinding. Like you have to constantly grind to see the results, like no sleep, you just whatever, right? Like
hustle culture.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And like naturally we're going to be more productive at certain times in our life or certain times in the year than other times in the year. So like you really like become aware of these things that are really impacting your behaviors or your action or inaction or whatever, right? Because it might be literally as simple as a belief that is literally stopping you, right? Because realistically, is there anything physical stopping you from the said thing, or is it literally a thought that is creating that barrier for you, right? So
if you believe you can't lose weight, you won't lose weight. If you believe you can, then you probably will. Like this is what I did like for my last bodybuilding competition. I genuinely believed so strongly that I was going to win that my whole prep, I treated it as if I already had won like in the future. So I was like, okay, I've already won. So I need to be doing the things that I would have had to do in order to win. And it's wild, even looking back on it, I believed so strongly that I was going to win that I basically experience it as a memory that I did win because I'd been believing that for so long. Now, my show did get canceled, so I have no idea if I would have won or not. But in my mind, in my memory, I did. Right? So if you like, belief makes such a huge difference. And it's so much easier to do what you have to do to make that happen if you believe strongly enough in it. And any obstacle that came up, I was like, okay, I'm just going to figure out what I got to do to get past this, to keep going, because I know I'm still going to get to that end goal. It's just a matter of, redirecting course and figuring out how to get there. Did the same thing when we bought our house, right? I knew we were going to buy a house. I knew it was going to happen. I believed it so strongly. And that was my main focus. Like we saved up our money for it. I had to get a new job in order to actually be able to buy the house. But I believed so strongly that it was going to happen that I did what I had to do to make that reality. Right? Yeah, belief absolutely. Is so important.
And it makes it takes that chance for you to not do the thing away. Like if you have a belief that you're going to succeed and you're going to show up at whatever cost, right? Because it's not because you're forcing yourself, but because the belief is so strong and it's literally like pushing you towards that goal, right? It actually becomes effortless, right? Like when you came up against barriers, it was like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to keep going. I'll figure out a way, right? Like that resiliency, you don't need to rely on motivation anymore when you have that belief in yourself.
Yeah, totally. And even like with starting my own business, like I never gave myself a second option. Like I never gave myself the option to go back to pharmacy or anything like that. And that's why I'm still going, because anytime I'm in those bad spots, I'm just like, you know what? I know things are going to work out, even though it is not very fun right now. I don't have another option. I need to push through. This is what I want to happen. This is what I enjoy, what I love, what I know I'm meant to be doing. And I'm just going to keep going. We're just going to keep doing it. I have no other option.
Exactly. Just keep chugging along.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Belief is such a huge thing, and you can practice it. Like belief is a thing you can practice. Like at the beginning of my prep for that show, I did not have that much belief. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do it or follow through with it, but I just kept on taking the action that proved that belief, right? I kept on taking the actions, proving to myself, creating the evidence to reinstate that belief.
Yeah.
If I'm going to win this, I'm doing the things that I would need to do in order to win. And then slowly over time, those things add up and you start getting closer and closer to that goal. And then you start thinking, oh, well, actually, maybe this could happen. And then the belief starts to get stronger and stronger.
So. And it's nice because you can borrow that belief from that success story that you had and apply it to other areas in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're doubting yourself, when you say, I have all this evidence to prove that I never keep promises to myself, right? Well, look, there's a really good example of a situation where you did keep promises to yourself and you did show up. And so now you do have evidence or proof to show that for that. So really like either borrow a belief from someone else if you don't have it in yourself yet, and that's completely okay, right? Like this isn't an overnight thing, or borrow it from others, like situations where you like did succeed, right?
Yeah,
because
I'm sure you've done some pretty cool things in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, we always have something that we can look back to and be like, you know what, I did that, and that was really cool that I did that.
Yeah, that's a good prompt for everyone today, to like have a quick reflection on your wins, like even in the last couple of years, because you might surprise yourself with all the things that you achieved.
And if you can't think of anything, ask people close to you.
Yes.
Like, what are you proud of me for accomplishing? Because you might forget about things. So like ask your friends and family, be like, what are you like most proud of me for doing? And that can be a really cool insight as well.
And people like doing that. People feel good, right? It's like when, like people like praising people. They enjoy that, right? They like celebrating that together. So definitely go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we close off today?
I guess we could do we want to touch quickly on goals, or do we want to,
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, to kind of tie this all back home is that goals basically are desires for the future. So like what you want your future to look like, right? And future goals really impact on how you're going to act now, right? Because you have to act now in order to see the results later, right? So making sure that your beliefs and your values are in alignment with that will really make that action that you need to take now a lot easier.
Yeah. One of my I guess my own quotes, I don't know if it's mine or if I took it for somewhere else, but basically like a goal is a dream with a plan. Right? Because you have dreams for yourself, but it doesn't become something that can be reality, which is a goal, until you add a plan to it. And that's where you got to come back to your values and your beliefs, is creating the plan. Right? So you got to create the plan that aligns with your values. And then you need to believe in the goal by, again, choosing actions, choosing your plan that aligns with your values, makes sense for you, and is going to continue to prove to yourself, to provide you with evidence that, yes, indeed, you can do the things that are required to get to your goal.
And like our brain functions way, 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 way better when we have like clear goals and a direction.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like if you have no idea what your future is going to look like, do you think you're going to act like, I don't know, like if you can't take the action that is required of you now if you have no idea where you need to go? You just can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the best my nutrition and fitness has ever been is when I was working towards a bodybuilding competition. The best I've ever been at saving money was when we were trying to buy our house. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely two different types. Like you can work towards a concrete goal, and those are usually going to be more so like shorter phases in your life where you have a really structured period of time where you're working towards a really big goal, like a competition or, like saving up a certain amount of money. And then you also have the goals that are more just like an always type of goal of basically just like always improving yourself in certain areas. So like I still want to work on my health and fitness. Just because I'm not working towards a competition specifically doesn't mean I'm not working towards those. You just kind of have a different amount of focus and it doesn't take away from other areas of your life as much. Because when I'm working towards a bodybuilding competition or when I was saving for a house, there were definitely other areas of my life that I had to kind of dial it back on while I was doing that. But it doesn't always have to be like that. You can kind of decide how you want to work towards it. I feel like at the beginning, when you're first getting started in like health and fitness, it's probably going to be your main focus for a while.
Yeah.
But once you kind of learn and figure out what works really well for you, then you can kind of start transitioning it into more of a like, okay, this is just like an everyday type of thing for my life. And I can kind of start to focus on other things again too, right?
Yeah. And like for any of you that maybe are scared by the word goal, like I know that can be quite daunting if there's been lots of experiences where you haven't hit that goal that you really wanted. Lately, I've been kind of switching out goal for milestone because it's cool because you constantly get to like up level in your life, and milestones, I think I don't have like a weird association with. So like I find that changing even your language around goal setting and maybe like switching out certain words can be a lot more empowering because I don't know, like how many times have you like made a new goal and haven't gotten to it? And that's totally fine, right? So maybe like try switching out milestone and see if it feels a little bit different where you kind of keep you keep going up the ladder. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're just done. Like you're constantly up leveling. I think that sounds way more exciting.
Yeah. I love that approach where you're just always working on improving yourself. Because why not? It's what makes life fun.
Oh yeah.
I think. Yeah. So I think that's a good place to end it today.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been a fun conversation. I really enjoy sharing our conversations. We always have such good ones. But yeah, so don't forget to sign up for the bootcamp. We will see you guys Wednesday and Friday this week for the other 2 bonus trainings. And then we officially start in the bootcamp on Monday. So yeah, link is in our bios, in the Facebook group, on my Facebook, on your Facebook, in the description of the podcast. It's everywhere. If you want to get in, you'll find it.
Yeah. We made it pretty easy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will see you guys next time then. Bye.
Bye.